Let's pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and legislative assemblies for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with the abundant favor as your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider our matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and a faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interest you have committed to our church. Amen. Next order.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Next order.
Order number 6, notice of motion.
Next order.
Order number 7, statement.
May I call upon Honorable Dominic Maitha to respond to the statement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Vincent Mutie. I'm standing in for the Honorable Dominic, who is the chairperson committee on implementation, and also being a member of that committee, he requested me to present this response on his behalf and that of the committee. Honorable Speaker, on 19th October 2022, during the afternoon plenary sitting, pursuant to Standing Order 41.3, a statement on status of implementation of the Machakos County Emergency Fund Regulation 2021 by Honorable Francis Kaviu, MCA Kenania Ward, seeking the following. What initiatives the county executive has taken to, number 1, reduce the risks and hazards caused by the ongoing drought. Initiate school feeding programs for all school-going children, especially at ECD centers, and reduce the cost of food by relieving the small-scale traders of licensing fees. Honorable Speaker, the above statement was committed to the Implementation Committee to respond back to the House in 14 days. Further, due to the complexity of the matter, the committee sought an extension through a motion on 15th February 2023 and was given further 14 days to report back to the House. The committee engaged the Chief Officer, Department of Finance. In response to the above statement, the Chief Officer informed the committee that the Executive Committee member for Finance and Revenue Management was in the process of forming a committee to operationalize the fund, after which the funds shall be utilized to address the issues raised in the statement. Honorable Speaker, the committee further inquired from the Chief Officer what interim measures has been put in place to operationalize the fund. The Chief Officer responded through a letter as follows. Number 1, the county government is cognizant of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, Section 110, and the existence of the Machakos Emergency Fund Regulations 2021. Number 2, he further said that the management has come up with a disaster and emergency management policy and is in the process of forming the Machakos County Emergency Committee to manage the fund. Upon preparation of the disaster management plan, the same will be submitted to the county assembly for approval. Number 3, the Chief Officer also said that the county treasury has budgeted an amount of 40 million forming a percentage of 0.4% of the total budget. These monies will be secured in a separate bank account, that is the emergency fund account. Then the funds management committee will deliberate and advise in case the total amount is not utilized in disaster management. Number 4, the chief officer said that there has been allocation for funds for emergency fund in the previous financial years, but the funds have not been appropriated. Number 5, that after formation of the county emergency committee, county treasury will develop a disaster management plan within a duration of 1 month. That due to budget constraints, the county treasury has allocated an amount of 40 million Kenya shillings though the amount may not be enough. Further, the management is coming up with the appropriate structures so that the fund is utilized in the best way and to impact where there is an emergency and within the law. That the county treasury is working on the requirements to actualize utilization of the fund to cushion Machakos residents against the effects of the severe drought. Honorable Speaker, having studied and interrogated the responses by the chief officer, the committee made the following observation: that the executive has not been utilizing the emergency fund due to laxity in ensuring that the proper structures are put in place to operationalize the Machakos County Emergency Fund and its regulations thereof, which requires that the CCM Finance Revenue Management to appoint the Machakos County Emergency Committee, formulate a county disaster management plan, and forward to the Assembly for approval for it to be operational. The budgeted amount of 40 million, which translates to 0.4% of the county government revenue last audited accounts, is not adequate to mitigate disasters when they occur. Therefore, the need for county treasury to appropriate not less than 1% of the total county government revenue for the last audited accounts. Honorable Speaker, the committee presents this response pursuant to Standing Order 41.3. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable members, I would request for comments, some ventilation on this matter before I move to the next discussion. Do we have contributions or some ventilation, some points? Honorable Ngunga, proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I raised to maybe make a comment on this response that was given by the Committee on Implementation after having been sought by the Honorable Francis Kaviu, MCA Kinanye. And I think, Madam Speaker, the issue of this issue of emergency fund has been lagging around with us for a long time, and I think from the look of things, other than the fact that the committee was given a response, I think this is not as sorry, Madam Speaker. Okay. I think this is not satisfactory enough, Madam Speaker, and I think my comment would be that something will need to be done urgently. I think the recommendations that the committee came up with, that we need to do something like 1% of the last audited account, I think this is the way to go. Though the Public Management Act talks about 2% of the budget, we can start from somewhere, because of course we know we are faced with the budgetary constraints. We can start from somewhere, because if you talk about 1% of this, we'll be talking close to about 120 million. Madam Speaker, when you talk about emergency funds, this is a fund that should be addressing not only the issue of droughts. Remember, Madam Speaker, quite often we have been faced with the issues of fire breakouts. We have been faced with hazards around our county, and we are faced with a situation where we have no funds anywhere where we can be able to respond to these hazardous occurrences. So, Madam Speaker, I think it will be my prayer to this House, we move with speed. We ensure that this emergency fund is actually created and money appropriated urgently, so that as a county we at least we have reserves, so that in case we have hazards here, And of course, Madam Speaker, I would be asking the House to come up with these regulations as we pass them. This will not be a usual fund. It's a fund that only with the approval of the county assembly, then these monies can be therefore utilized. So, Madam Speaker, I think I want to agree with the committee for their proposals to have this fund whose monies will be raised from 0. I don't know, this was 0 point something to 1%. So, Madam Speaker, so do I respond? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Majority, make your comment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to agree with Mheshimiwa Ngonga of Mua, and especially us who are in urban setup. Because of lack of prioritization of the emergency fund, we are faced with so many challenges. I want to cite a case in example. Just between January and now, we have had 3 fire incidences in Machakos Central Ward, and the county government has not been able to respond effectively. Reason that the fire engine had broken down, and when I probed, I was told the clutch to the fire engine was a problem, which was costing 130,000 only. There was a fire incident at Naivas supermarket that we used bucket to put off. There was a very bad fire incident near, as you exit Machakos, where 2 vehicles, rammed into each other and caught fire. So I think it is very important that we get, we have a fund that gives the people who manage disasters a leeway, of course through the approval assembly, to get this small amount of money that makes their work easier. So I agree with the committee. We need, first of all, I think, to ensure the CACM for finance forms this committee, that the Machakos County Emergency Committee. Without this committee, I don't think we are going to go anywhere. I will pray that we move, we ensure that if he doesn't form this committee, I will seek the guidance of the House on what sanction can be imposed on him to form this committee. Without this committee, none is going to move. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Mwoki.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I raise to support what the Committee for Finance has done, but I would want also to request that they had sought information on 3 items separately: the emergency, the ECD feeding program, and reducing the effects of drought. That amount that will be agreed upon, the percentage notwithstanding, and I totally agree with Honorable Ngonga when he says, yes, we need to start from some place. And the some place that we need to start from maybe is a 0.4%, maybe is even a higher amount, whatever the amount. But can we go further and separate that amount that will be approved, that percentage that will be approved, can it be allocated to the 3 different areas? Because I do think, and my colleagues, the members, will agree with me, the ECD is no emergency. And we would need to approve here or agree here that we have that feeding program for the ECDs throughout, irrespective of there is drought or no drought. That we will always be knowing, and our members or our people down at home, they will be knowing there is no issue about feeding our small children. And that way, we will be going the right way. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable members, it appears that not only the 3 items that have been identified here in this statement, that is reducing the risk and hazards caused by the ongoing drought, that is the feeding program, and of course the reducing the cost of living for the small-scale traders. the licensing fees for them. It appears that we have more of emergency issues that require to be added to this list. The list is not enough because Honorable Member Majority has talked about fire extinguishers not working. That's an emergency. What I mean is that we seem not to be prepared for tragedies. We have no fund available for such issues. According to me, I think we have more to add to this list. And therefore, before
you make your commit, Honorable Speaker, I'm requesting to also give an input on the matter, if you allow me.
Okay, minority, you can proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm sorry I came late, but you were also addressing matters concerning this house. I was with Mheshimiwa Ngondi and other. Mheshimiwa Ngondi and yeah? Yes. Not casual. Mheshimiwa, the majority leader.
Address
Yes,
honorable
yes.
members appropriately.
Yes, and I'm requesting that you also give me protection. I can see my brother, who claims to be the father of the house. Huh? He has issues. Honorable Speaker, from the response we are getting, to me it is not satisfactory. It is not satisfying what we intended to know. Honorable Speaker, when you talk about issue of disaster is something that can come, something that was not expected. And if we talk of now we are in the process of forming this committee or this board. Suppose now as we are forming the board, something happens. Shall we just look? Shall we just keep quiet and watch things happen? Honorable Speaker, there is a term used by wise men. The word is millard. Millard. Honorable Speaker, a millard is somebody who just see things happen. And he has nothing to do, either to stop the things from happening or to make them continue happening. If we live at this stage, we all become millards. The assembly is going to be a millard, Honorable Speaker. From where I sit, I don't agree with this proposal that we are in the process of forming this committee. We should have at least, even if we are to make that, we can appoint a caretaker committee to say in the case of anything, member A, member B, or this particular officer will take charge. Because if we leave the way it is, you cannot leave a train in the ocean without a captain. That is not possible, Honorable Speaker. The other issue, or the plane will let it fly without the captain. Honorable Speaker, the other issue is about how to mitigate the drought that we are. I don't know whether, again, when our people are dying because of hunger, we are also going to continue forming the committee, and when the people have died or they have suffered a lot, that is the time when the committee is in place. Then we start saying the county will take care of the burial. Honorable Speaker, we need to be proactive. We need to be proactive. The issue of saying we are forming, that one should not be heard in this house. And this house should be able to give direction. Honorable Speaker, as far as I'm concerned, this is the highest decision-making organ of this county. And if we sleep on our job, then the rank and file are watching. The rank and file are eager to see their representatives. We send Honorable Ndawa to go and represent us in that highest decision-making organ. What is he doing to ensure that we don't die because of hunger? Honorable Speaker, there is that proposal of 40 million. Why should we keep the money in their account when our people are dying? We need to come up with a way. If we say, they are not telling us, by next week we will be tabling this. They are just saying, once we are ready, we shall table the report.
I think, Honorable Member, the reason why this direction, the matter has taken this direction is because you may have to sit a bit. The regulations which I'm holding right now, we have regulations. They are not talking about a chief officer being making submissions before the committee of implementation. This particular regulation is talking about the CEC being the person to be interrogated by the committee on implementation. So I think the problem here was the wrong officer was called to give interrogation, to answer to this, while the right one is not aware of this. That's why they are talking about we will, without being non-committal. So I think maybe we may have to go back to the drawing. I'm not making a resolution, I'm just suggesting that we go back to the drawing table. Honorable Vincent?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are talking about,
A fund.
we are talking about a fund.
Yes.
So when we are talking about this fund, I was seeking some understanding that it created a Machakos emergency fund,
Yeah?
2021.
Yes.
Of course, the implementation of that fund
Yes.
is what the committee was supposed
Seeking.
to question.
Yes.
So
They were supposed to question the CEC, not the CO.
the
That is-
chief officer, the authorized officer.
I'm saying that is what the regulations say. Doesn't talk about the chief officer.
It is talking about the CEC.
Yes.
We are in agreement in
Yes,
that.
yes, yes.
So the person who gave the response was the chief officer.
That's what I'm saying.
The understanding, according to us,
Yeah.
was that the chief officer was not speaking for himself. He
Yes.
was speaking for the department.
Yeah.
So a failure of the department might be apportioned to the authorized officer, whether the chief officer or the CEC. Now, when he says that they are in the process of forming, maybe that is the brief he received from the CEC.
Yes.
So perhaps what we need, and the House, with the authority of the House, is to further and to give us another authority, so that now we can summon the CEC, not the chief officer, and this time not at the committee level, but at the committee of the entire House, so that we can get those questions answered in a better way.
Thank you. And that is the point I have been driving home. Perhaps I used a long route. I just said we have to go back to the drawing table, call the right CEC as per the regulations. We said we follow the law to the letter. So that's the point. And I agree with you entirely.
Speaker, I think I want to agree with the Honorable Vincent, what he's saying, but I think the matter here is about a law that was put in place but has not been made into operation, has not been operationalized. So when they are questioned, they are saying that we are in the process. We are in the process. And you know, as a house, we feel the emergency when we feel the need. 2021, I think, is when those regulations were put in place. Now, this is 2023, almost 2 years down the line. So the mandate of the House will be asking, why is it that this fund has not been made operational? And that's the point.
Okay.
So actually the idea whether they'll be telling us they have no regulation to operationalize the act, those are the issues that we need to raise. But as he's saying, and as Mheshimiwa Ndawa is raising very bitterly, is to ask, in the mean, because the need was felt during that time, we gave them time 2 years down the line. So what is it that has been holding them together? Maybe they'll be talking about budget reconstruction. Those are the things that we want to hear, and then we give a guidance, because it is actually dire that we have this fund in operation. Thank you,
So what
Madam
is
Speaker.
the way forward?
The way forward is to have the CM before us, and we force them to put in money in that fund.
Conclude, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, honorable members.
Thank you.
Honorable
Thank you.
Ndawa,
Thank you,
proceed.
Thank you, madam. I can see now the representatives of the people are very serious to ensure that the
So we
Discharge.
don't have any more Milans.
They are refusing. They are refusing to be millant. They want to ensure that they discharge their mandate as it is enshrined in the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, I don't know whether operationalization of a regulation requires funds. I'm not sure. I need to be guided. Because if the regulation was, we worked on the regulation for the previous assembly.
Yeah.
So we have a regulation which needs only operationalization. We don't need any budget. And I believe from the regulation, it says who are the members who are supposed to manage this fund.
Yeah.
And I'm very sure the person in charge who is talked about in that regulation is the CECM Finance. Honorable Speaker, to advise,
Yes.
there is nothing that hinders the current administration from operationalizing the regulations. Even if they want to change some of the members, let who are there continue as they process the new team. So that in the case of an emergency, we have a team that can be able to address the problem as the problem appears in our county.
I have it.
So that is what I was to say. But Honorable Speaker, from the responses we are getting, leave about this one. We are in the process. Let us discuss this issue. We are in the process. Let us discuss it completely. Let us ensure that we are doing something. Let's get report that we are working on this, and as we are working on this, we have option B. If you rely on one source, Honorable Speaker, the beginning of failure is relying on one source. We need to have at least two or three or more alternatives to solve a problem. So let the forming of that new team be one option, and working with the current or the outgoing team be another option, so that there will be no lacuna at any given time. And these are government institutions. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, honorable members. I wish to give an opportunity to Honorable Kavyu, being the member who made the statement, to make a comment on this particular response. It's your time, Honorable Kavyu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would also like to thank the committee for coming back to us. But, Madam Speaker, I wish to share the same sentiment as echoed by honorable members who have spoken before. What the committee should have come back to us is on when the fund, emergency fund, is going to be implemented, because every day we are having disasters happening. A recent case is when we had a truck that was burned to ashes near the Ruby's petrol station, just because the emergency team or the people who are supposed to make a response, they could not make it to the incident site in good time. And most of the time, whenever those incidences occur, we normally get reasons for the delay, either by lack of fuel or the necessary preparations to make sure the responses are timely and we are able to save properties or lives in case of such emergencies. And if Machakos County is going to realize the dream of becoming the next city in the Republic of Kenya, then issues to do with disaster management have to be taken with the seriousness. And the PFM Act provides for at least a provision of 2% of the total budget. And as you can see, only 0.4% is what has been provided. How do we expect, Madam Speaker, the responsible team to respond effectively if they don't have the necessary support and resources to make sure that our people are safe? So, Madam Speaker, would like the committee to go back to the drawing board and give us a clear work plan on when the fund, the department involved intends to roll it out and make sure that it's fully operationalized, because we cannot continue losing lives, properties. And one way to address emergencies and disasters is by prevention, is the best cure. So even before the disaster happens, or when the need for the emergency arises, we need to be prepared enough. And a good case in point, there is a response center that is being developed in Chumvi, where the response on fire issue and accidents are going to be improved. So we should not be talking of emergencies only when the incidences occur. So we need to have the fund active and action so that we prepare in advance enough. So we should have enough response centers across, whether it's the side of Viata, we should have one at a centralized place where these members are able to respond effectively, not having to rely on the one at the central there, where people have to call, or we have to rely from Mavoko, where people have to cover long distances to respond to such cases. So the essence of this fund is to make sure that we are not only responding effectively, but we are prepared enough to ensure that we either prevent, or when it happens, we have enough and the necessary resources for the team to respond. And also, maybe as the committee looks into the same, I would recommend that we have a special committee, both at the executive side, and we also have another committee at the assembly that will be able to audit and also to provide a clear oversight on the progress on the implementation of the same. So I think there is a lot to be done, and 2 years is long time enough to still this house to be talking about operationalization of this fund. So through you Madam Speaker, would request the committee to go back to the drawing board and give sufficient response to this house. And we'll also like to request through you, Madam Chair, whenever this house or any committee makes summon to the relevant department, let's not have people sending representative, because there is no business that is more important than the people of Machakos. So whenever this honorable house summons somebody, if it is Honorable Ndawa who has been summoned, let them appear in person and respond to the issues being raised, because this house is a representation of the people of Machakos. So we cannot take the business of this house casually, because if we continue at the trend that we are seeing recently, at one point, these committees are going to make summons and nobody will appear, and the house will not be able to get answers on oversight issues that we are raising. So, Madam Speaker, I think we still need more action, and will request through you that we get a detailed report, not sorry to call it a piece of literature, but we want to see a clear plan when this fund is going to be operationalized, so that we can move Machakos in the right direction, because Machakos has to become a city, and for that to happen, we need to have the necessary plans and clear details on where we want to go as a county. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member, and thank you for that contribution. Members, on the issue of making appearances by the CEC and the CEOs before the committees of the House, we have the law in place. You know, when you don't, someone is summoned and does not appear, I think several times, 2 times, I'm not so sure, but the law is there. You can look at it. You know what happens next. There are consequences. There are sanctions. So let's do the work according to the law, honorable members. Let's follow the procedure. Unless a member has stated clearly through writing that I'm not available because of 1, 2, 3, there are sanctions. If somebody just does not appear and there are no reasons to that, proceed and do follow the law. Thank you. Now, back to this particular response. And upon listening to the comments of the members and upon hearing the direction this matter is taking, we may have just to take this matter back to the committee on implementation to do thorough work, interrogate the right people, take into consideration the issues raised by members here. Honorable Vincent, you are here. You are holding brief for the chairman. You may have to, I hope you have picked the points members have raised. Go back to the drawing table, prepare a proper response, interrogate the right members, the right people, and bring us the report. And I hope we should give timelines. How many? Shortest time possible, within a reasonable time. 14 days.
Madam Speaker, I think...
Is it adequate?
No, let me just outline this for the sake of the committee. It happens that I am the only member. Perhaps I do not see another colleague. Mheshimiwa Kavu is around. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I give the House an undertaking that I will report back to the committee that this response is insufficient. It does not address the matters that are raised. But I also would like the House not just to say that in the shortest time possible, because since around 19th October 2022, and the response has come today, the 29th March 2023. We wouldn't want to keep the House for that long again, but I can give an undertaking that in the next 2 weeks or so, we will be able to report back. I am not the chair, but you can be sure, Madam Speaker, I am always thorough. I will make sure that we deliver as expected.
When you choose to hold a brief, you always hold a full brief. It's never half. Whether you are the chair, now we are looking at the chair. Honestly, are we not looking at the chair of the committee? Thank you. So it is 14 days. You bring back a report to the House. Thank you, honorable members. Next order.
Order number 8, approval of report on Machakos County Executive Financial Statement for the year ending June 2022.
May I call upon Honorable Francis Kitaka to move the motion. Welcome, Honorable Kitaka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm Honorable Francis Kitaka, representing Nalane Ward, and the Chair, Finance and Revenue Collection Committee. Madam Speaker, that aware that Article 185(3) of the Constitution of Kenya provides that a county assembly, while respecting the principles of separation of powers, may exercise oversight over the county executive committee and other county executive organ, aware that Standing Order number 195 provides that the mandate of the sectorial committee to include among studying, accessing, and analyzing the relative success of the departments as measured by results obtained and compared with the stated objectives, and making reports and recommendations as often as possible, including recommendations of proposed legislation. Further, aware that the second schedule of the standing orders mandates the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee to consider all matters relating to the management of county public finance and revenue collection, and noting that the Department of Finance and Economic Planning submitted financial statements of the county government of Machakos Executive for the year ended 30th June 2022, pursuant to Section 166 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. Aware that the statements were committed to the Finance and Revenue Collection Committee for consideration, and aware that the committee has compiled a report. Honorable Speaker, I wish to move the motion that this Honorable House discusses and approves the report of Finance and Revenue Collection Committee on financial statements of the County Government of Machakos for the year ended 30th June 2022. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. You may call, identify a seconder. Kindly.
I therefore call upon Honorable Lloyd Mutua to second.
Thank you, Honorable Lloyd Mutua, for that. I now propose the question that this Honorable House discusses and approves the report of Finance and Revenue Collection Committee on financial statements of the County Government of Machakos, in brackets, Executive, for the year ended 30th June 2022. Now, before we debate this matter, I call upon Honorable Francis to highlight the report.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll do some selected highlights for the report. Honorable Speaker, the committee, I'll start with the committee mandate. In accordance with the second schedule of standing orders, the committee is mandated to consider all matters relating to the management of county public finance and revenue collection. In executing its mandate, the committee oversees the following departments which are under the County Executive Committee member for Finance and Economic Planning. A, County Treasury. B, Finance and Revenue Collection. Madam Speaker, the Finance, Revenue Collection and Revenue Collection Committee is currently constituted and comprises of the following members. Honorable Francis Kitaka, Chairperson, who is also the MCA in Alani Ward. Honorable Paul Wambua, who is the Vice Chair. Honorable Lloyd Mutua, Special Elect. Honorable Francis Kavyu, MCA Kenania Ward. Honorable Judas Dawa, who is the Minority Leader and MCA Matu Ward. Honorable Irene Mulu, who is the Special Elect. Honorable Ellen Deti, Special Elect. Honorable Daniel Muindi, MCA Muthesia Ward. Honorable Jackson Daka, MCA Tala Ward. Honorable Grace Bahati, MCA Cheleni Ward. Honorable Paul Muli, MCA Kilimani Ward. Honorable Philip Ndolo, MCA Mitabone Ward. And Honorable Anna Ndilo, Special Elect, and the Committee Secretariat. Madam Speaker, the County Executive submitted a report of the financial statements for the County Government of Machakos Executive in respect to the financial year 2021-2022 on 31st August 2022, pursuant to Section 164 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. The committee interrogated the statement as per its mandate as provided for under Standing Order 195 and the second schedule of standing orders, which include all matters relating to the management of county public finance and revenue collection. The county government of Machakos in the financial year 2021-2022 had projected revenues of 13,089,716,880 shillings, comprising of Kenya shillings 1.6 billion, 882 comprising of 1,602,894,197 shillings from own source revenue. Kenya shillings 9,162,304,232,100 from exchequer releases, 1,15,817,860 shillings being returned CRF issues, and 1,288,700,590 from proceeds from domestic and foreign grants. As per financial statement in the financial year 2021-2022, the county executive managed to realize 10,699,255,507 shillings. The budget deficit was in revenues representing 82% rate against total budgeted receipts of 13,089,716,879. The budget deficit was occasioned by non-receipt or under collection of 732,984,335 shillings from the exchequer releases. Kenya shillings 939,784,641 shillings from proceeds of domestic and foreign grants. Kenya shillings 153,279,872 shillings from government entities transfer, and Kenya shillings 564,432,444 shillings from county-owned generated receipts. Members, you can refer to table 3.1 on revenue performance. On expenditure, Honorable Speaker, the county actual expenditure for the financial year ended 30th June 2022 amounted to 10,332,934,982 shillings, which included acquisition of assets at Kenya shillings 987,914,840 shillings. Compensation of employees at 5 billion Kenya shillings 903,699,792 shillings. Use of goods and services at a Kenya shilling at the cost of Kenya shillings 1 billion 496,724,958 shillings. Social security benefits at Kenya shillings 87,995 shillings 1,117 shillings, and Kenya shillings 1,856,600,275 shillings spent on transfer to other government units and other grants. A comparison between the receipts of Kenya shillings 10 billion 699,235,587 shillings and payments of 10 billion 332,934,982 shillings revealed that the county executive spent about 55% of the total receipts on compensation of employees, and this is above the 35% set in Regulation 25 1B of the Public Finance Management Regulations 2015. Madam Speaker, in addition, acquisition of assets was 9% of the total receipts and was below 30% level set out in section 107 2B of the PFMA. The County Executive Committee member for Finance, Economic Planning, Revenue Management and ICT informed that the committee that the high wage bill beyond 35% was as a result of inheriting employees from the national government without having equivalent resources being devolved, and also the high salaries paid to health workers. Madam Speaker, the county-owned generated receipts decreased from 1,557,211,640 shillings in the financial year 2018-2019 to 1,376,171,810 shillings in financial year 2019-2020. Then dropped further to 1,118,461,753 shillings realized in the financial year 2020-2021. I request members to refer to table 3.3 in the report. Honorable Speaker, the CCM attributed decrease in own resource revenue to slow down of the economy due to COVID-19, which affected some revenue streams like land rates, building approvals, single business permits, and agricultural produce. Madam Speaker, in terms of revenue accounts, the county government operates one revenue account with the Central Bank of Kenya, known as the County Revenue Fund, CRF, account for the purpose of receiving funds from the National Treasury. In the financial year 2021-2022, for the purposes of collecting revenue, the committee noted that the executive used 22 revenue accounts, with 19 being in Kenya Commercial Bank, one in Family Bank, and another in Cooperative Bank. Madam Speaker, on pending bills, the county executive had huge bills amounting to 3,186,378,546 shillings as at 30th June 2022, comprising of pending accounts payable, that is bills from various departments, of 2,267,060,630 shillings. Pending staff payables, that is retirement benefits, of Kenyan shillings 293,729,198 shillings. And other pending payables from Kenya Power, water bills, and Kenya School of Government of amount 125,588,716 shillings. Members, you can refer this to table 3.5. Honorable Speaker, the CECM informed the committee that the accumulation of the pending bills was occasioned by delays in exchequer releases and decline in own source revenue. To deal with the pending bills, the CCM informed the committee that the county has come up with a detailed payment plan whereby payments of the bills that have been committed will be done before incurring further expenditure. Honorable members, I would want us to skip to page 15 and allow me sip some water. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Committee on Finance and Revenue Collection interrogated or sought responses from the County Executive Committee member for Finance, and he had the following to say. One, the committee sought clarifications or responses from the county executive member for finance, economic planning and ICT on the following matters. Via letter written to them, you see the reference, refer to the reference dated 9th November 2022. A, failure to spend all funds received in the financial year 2021-2022. We also sought a response on B, inability to adhere to principles of fiscal responsibility under section 107 of PFMA. C, the reasons we sought to got the responses on reasons why we had a drop in our own source revenue. And 3, why we had increased pending bills. The CCM responded to the committee queries via letter dated 17th November, and the responses were as follows. Failure to spend all funds received in financial year 2021-2022, and the response was, the county was unable to spend 366,300,006.05 shillings, and the CCM informed the committee that the county received funds amounting 625,803,242 shillings late on July 5th, 2022, and tried to spend it but was unable to process all the payments, thus leaving the balance. The response from the CCM on inability to adhere to principles of fiscal responsibility under the section 107, and he responded this way. Compensation for employees for the period was approximately 55% of the total receipts, which was more than 35% stipulated in Regulation 25(1)B of the Public Finance Management Regulation 2015. The CCM responded that the county's high wage bill was historical. The national government devolved staff in health, agriculture, water, and trade, but were not accompanied by equivalent resources. Madam Speaker, additionally, the health workers, through their collective bargaining agreement, have had salaries increased, and these two factors have resulted in high wage bill over and above the recommended level. The CCM also said to help resolve the matter, the department is proposing to the assembly that health workers be classified separately from other workers as their terms of service are different. In addition, a human resource task force has been set up to realign workforce to their functions. Number 3.3, acquisition of assets for financial year was approximately 9% of the total receipts, which was less than 30% level set out in section 107(2)B of the PFMA. The CCM responded that this was as a result of failure to receive all the budgeted revenues amounting to 2,390,481,291 shillings. Madam Speaker, the CCM also responded on why we had a drop in own source revenue. The county had targeted to collect 1,682,894,197 shillings, but managed to collect 1,118,461,753 shillings, which was 66% of the target. The CCM explained to the committee that the department faced numerous challenges emanating from the post-COVID-19 ripple effects, which led to closure of many businesses, hence reduced revenue from land rates, single business permits, quarries, and building plans approvals. Further, the drought situation in the country also affected revenue received from agricultural produce. The CCM also responded on why we had increase in pending bills. Madam Speaker, the total bills for the county increased by 12% from 2,803,361,946 shillings to 3,186,378,546 shillings. The CCM informed the committee that accumulation of pending bills was occasioned by delays in exchequer releases and decline in own revenue. To deal with this, the pending bills, the CCM informed the committee that the county has come up with a detailed payment plan whereby payments of the bills that have been committed will be done before incurring further expenditure. Madam Speaker, having received the responses from the CCM, the committee observed the following: that on-source revenue collection has continued to decline for 4 years consecutively, from 1.5 billion in 1.557 billion in financial year 2018-2019 to 1.18 billion in financial year 2021-2022. In the intermediary financial years, the county collected own revenue as follows: 1.376 billion in financial year 2019-2020, and Kenya shillings 1.296 billion in financial year 2020-2021. That county pending bills have been on the upward trend despite various advisories by the National Treasury and the Assembly that there were need to control and pay pending bills. The pending bills have increased from 2.8 billion to 3.1 billion as at 30th June 2022. Madam Speaker, we also observed that the collection of own revenue was done through several revenue accounts, numbering to 21 in number, spread across Kenya Commercial Bank, KCB, at 19, Cooperative 1, Family 1, with one account each. The funds collected deposited in the County Revenue Fund, CRF, at the Central Bank of Kenya at varying intervals, ranging from 7 days and above. This was contrary to previous recommendations by the Assembly that on-source revenue should be transferred to the CRF account weekly. Madam Speaker, the committee also observed that there was delay in revenue automation and that the county continued collecting revenues in cash as evidenced when the committee visited Mutitoni Slaughterhouse. Madam Speaker, we also noted that the compensation of employees was above the threshold of 35% stipulated by Regulation 25(1)(b) of the PFM regulations of 2015 at 58% of the total expenditure in the financial year 2021-2022. Finally, Madam Speaker, the committee also observed that the expenditure on development was very low at 9% and below the 30% threshold set out in Section 107(2)(b) of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. Madam Speaker, the committee recommends as follows. Having considered that report on financial statements of the county for the year 2021-2022 and the responses of the CCM for finance, economic planning, revenue management, and ICT, the committee recommends that the Department of Finance and Economic Planning Management as follows. 1, automate revenue collection and do away with most of the bank accounts opened for the revenue collection, especially the multiplicity of accounts in KCB. 2, the committee recommends the introduction of a revenue collection monitoring tool that is automatic and can be used to verify who has paid revenue and who has not paid. This will reduce the need for revenue officers having to call the revenue offices to confirm whether a customer has paid revenue to the county before issuing a receipt. Madam Speaker, on this point, I will want to give a case scenario whereby the current system, when a customer or a client pays to the county government, the receiving officer cannot verify whether this transaction has gone through or not, up and until the client himself or herself shows on the phone that she has made the payment, which in most cases we've also checked and realized that most of the transactions are false. Madam Speaker, we also recommend.
Honorable Kitaka.
Yes.
Kindly expound on that one more.
Yes, Madam Speaker. I want to give a case study when we visited Mutituni Slaughterhouse.
Yes.
And we realized that the officers, the revenue officers who are responsible in the collection of the payments for the services did not have gadgets to confirm once a client has paid via M-Pesa, the till, then the client has to show the message from his phone to confirm that payment has been done.
Yeah.
And in most cases, we picked some of these transactions, and after following up with the officers,
Yes.
we realized that these are just edited messages from most of the customers who are paid.
Yes.
So the money ends up not reaching the county government
Yes.
of Machakos.
I get it.
So we therefore recommend that all the revenue officers be well equipped with their phones and gadgets so that they can confirm that the payment has been done on the right way.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, recommendation number 3, we recommend that the county government stop collection of revenue in cash and institute strategies to deal with officers who continue flouting the instructions that revenue should be made to the prescribed county pay bill number. Number 4, the committee also recommends that we ensure revenue collected through revenue collection accounts is transferred to the CRF account at CBK on a weekly basis. Recommendation number 5, Madam Speaker, we recommend that the committee recommends that we develop a revenue enhancement strategies to ensure that the local revenue was not shrinking but expanding. This can involve revision of valuation roles for land rates, setting revenue targets for each ward as indicated by revenue potential mapping per ward, and enhancing revenue collection monitoring to reduce revenue diversion. Madam Speaker, our recommendation number 6, we also advise departments whose human resource has gone beyond the ceiling to manage the expected threshold. Number 7, we recommend that we start charging off street parking from the municipalities. Number 8, we recommend that we formulate a framework on how to pay the pending bills and forward it to the Assembly for consideration within 60 days. Madam Speaker, having read the recommendations of the committee, it's evident that we have the House, this Honorable House, have a picture of what is really happening on the ground. And I therefore call upon them to debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Francis Kitaka, for that good report. Members, it is now our turn to debate this matter and proceed, get resolutions for it. Honorable Helen Detty.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand first to congratulate the committee that has written a very well elaborate report on about the finances of our county. I happen to be a member of the committee, and I can assure you members that what you have heard from our chairman is exactly what is on the ground. Members, it's very unfortunate that at this time and age, Machakos County has not managed to collect revenue that is expected. I think if I can recall, the national government expects us to collect from 6 billion, and the World Bank, from 6 billion and above. It's only last term, last assembly, that 2018, 2019, after a lot of hard work, the committee managed to push the executive to come up to collect up to 1.5. I feel that there is room for revenue collection or our own source revenue to be increased to even 3 to 4 billion if our finance department comes up with a mapping that they are talking about, where they should be able to come up with a bigger tax collection base. And hopefully, once that is done, we should be able to collect enough. Notwithstanding that the last 2 years, the Kenya government and everybody in Kenya has gone through very difficult, hard economic times. On the issue of staffing, it seems like most of our money goes to human resource, which is amounting to about 5 billion. I think the expected level of employment should not go beyond 35%, and as a county we are at 51%. I think the task force that was put in place should be able to come up with recommendations on what the county needs to do to ensure that we are within the expected levels. The other thing that I've always talked about is pending bills. I think if I remember very well, there was also a task force on pending bills, which should be able to tell us whether for sure the 3 billion we are talking about is the actual pending bills, or we have pending bills that cannot be substantiated. So it's very important that as a committee and as an assembly, we follow to ensure that we know exactly what is actually pending. And we should also ensure that in future, there is no committing of funds in procurement of services or goods without a budget. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Lloyd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to thank also the committee and the good leadership of our chair. I would like to emphasize on two recommendations that was given by the committee. The introduction of collection monitoring tool. We found out during our various site visit, when let's say when someone is doing payment, and probably let me give an example with the trucks where the trucks that are collecting modem there, where the driver is not the one doing the payment through the pay bill number. It's the boss who is doing the payment. The boss sends the message to the driver, and now that message you cannot verify whether it's a true message or not, because when someone is paying, if I'm the one who is doing the payment through the pay bill number, you can verify because you can see from the Safaricom you can't end it. But the message is being sent from a third person. That message they are editing, and we verified it when we went to the county revenue collection office. We went with those messages to verify. Those messages, they could not appear on the system. The other thing also we need to I need to emphasize is on the internal leakages. The internal leakages are coming up where we are having this too much collection through the cash, and the Mheshimiwa Kaviu can verify. When we were on the site visit, we realized, yes, they do the collection through the cash, which is not allowed. The other thing also I would like to, I've just remembered here, I don't see it in the recommendation. When we were doing, in the office, we realized in the system now that we are doing the collection with one pay bill number in the entire county. you cannot tell the amount of money collected in Machakos, you cannot tell the amount of money collected in Mavoko, the constituency, the way that we used to know now through the various PIN numbers, because each constituency has its own PIN numbers. Now we can't. So like other counties which are systems, like in Nairobi, you can tell the amount of money collected per region. So I think the system should be enhanced in such a way when the payment is done, we can tell how much money is collected per region. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Majority, then Honorable Deputy Minority. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. Minority. Yeah, so the order is like this. Minority starts, Deputy Minority follows.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Chair for Honorable Opak, in that order. Sorry, proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yeah.
When you call me majority, you start raising the pressure of
I withdrew.
the current, the current majority leader. But we are good friends. So there is no cause for alarm. Honorable Speaker, my name is Judas Dawa, the area MCA representing the great people of Matu, and I happen to be a member of this committee, Honorable Speaker. I want to start by thanking the chair, our most able chair. And if I say our most able chair, you understand what I mean. He's somebody who is equal to the task, and an officer who is committed to undertake all what is enshrined in the Constitution, what is supposed to be done. And also the committee members, Honorable Speaker. I want to say I support the report 100% and say most of what has been raised here and some of the observations which have been observed here are going to assist in improving the management of our finances in our county and also collection. Honorable Speaker, the only challenge that we have is that we are talking of, this is a report of year ended 30th June 2022, when most of the members, including the chairperson, was not in office that time. So we may not have benefit, most of members may not have benefit of having to know what exactly what was happening. But Mheshimiwa, the DS, was in charge that time. And I'm very sure during his tenure, when he was a chair, finance is the only time the revenue shoot from the original collection. It went up by a very big percentage. Honorable Speaker, from what we are reading here, there are some issues that need to be looked into. One of the items I've seen here is on issue of the payment of the no, not this bench, the other bench. I'm referring you to page 17. Not 17, not 17. I want to take you back to page 15. Page 15. Page 15. That is inability to adhere to the principles and fiscal responsibility under section 107. Item number 31. Compensation for employees for the period was approximately 55%. Honorable Speaker, the set percentage is 35, and you see we had gone up to 55, a difference of more than 20%. Honorable Speaker, if we spent monies in paying for this employee compensation, it means that will not have enough funds to cater for development, and that is something which has been brought about, which has come from the committee. That is an item that we need to be more serious about it. Then the other issue that we need to get answers, and you know where to get these answers, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of the medical staff or the employees from the who man our medical or the Department of Health. Honorable Speaker, there is this CBA, this collective bargaining